Hello, this and my other YouTube videos are extracted from the History of Man series, currently 6 books published in print, ebook, and most importantly, audiobook. I'm a storyteller, and if you like these video stories, you'll love the History of Man series audiobooks. Great for commuting or just sitting back and relaxing. And unlike a novel you've read where you know the ending, you can listen to these books on tape more than once. There's so much to learn. Available on Amazon and audible.com, I narrate the audiobooks. And the best part about that is you can listen to these stories without having to look at my stupid face. And with that said, let's get the show on the road. Hello, I'm John Bershoff. This is another installment of History of Man series. Today's topic, invention of the internet. I became interested in the invention of the internet when it occurred to me that the blood supply to the heart was designed poorly by whomever. No collateral blood flow. If a coronary artery were to go down, that part of the heart subserved by that artery would also go down in flames. No collateral flow. The left anterior descending coronary artery is called the widowmaker. It's the main supply to the left ventricle, the most important part of the heart. Men especially have heart attacks. And if they had a heart attack of the widowmaker, well, the wife, the widow, well, it would be a widowmaker. But switching gears, in the 1950s and 60s, at the height of the Cold War, no, Penny, Cold Wars are not wars that are fought in the wintertime. It occurred to the U.S. Army that the Ma Bell telephone system was vulnerable. All calls went through hubs. Take out a hub or two, take out a few switches, and the whole system goes down. The USSR could take out a phone hub or two, and communications in the United States drop, like we might drop third period geometry. The same was true at the same time with the US highways. They were then a patchwork of state highways. But in 1958, President Eisenhower signed into law the Federal Aid Highway Act, but actually it was called the National Interstate and Defense Highways Act. Why defense? Wasn't the highway system just built for family trips in the station wagon with kids bouncing around in the back, no seatbelts, and the bratty kid is saying, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" Or wasn't the system built for the trucking industry, which it was, which was taking on the bulk of transporting goods in our country? No, the system was also built, the highway system, to defend our borders should the Russians come down from the north of Canada or up from Mexico. But anyway, returning to phone lines, initially in the early half of the 1900s, all calls were manned by women. That doesn't sound right, manned by women. But anyway, these women who wore their hair up, crisp blouse, below knee skirts, stockings with the seam running down the back, quite sexy. They would sit at these phone hubs and do the switches and stuff. But then about that time, Ma Bell and AT&T and whomever automated the system. So bye-bye attractive women with sexy stockings, but still all calls went through central automated hubs. Computers back then in the 1960s were standalone. They didn't speak to each other. So the US Army developed what was called ARPANET. It stands for Advanced Research Projects Agency Network. And it created the TCP IP protocols. TCP stands for Transmission Control Protocol, IP, Internet Protocol. And what those mean will be clear momentarily. So rather than a direct line, and yes, I have a rotary phone that works, and kids today probably don't know what this is. Can I take a picture and post it on Facebook? But anyway, all phone calls back then would still go through a central hub. And what was needed was somehow a destination that was not just a point A to point B. They needed a signal to go out on a wire. And that signal would keep on going and going and going until it found its destination. And since all wires are theoretically connected, or somewhat connected, phone wires, you put a single call out or a single signal out, and it keeps on going and going till it finds its IP address, its destination. So that's one part of the IP destination. Interestingly, back then, it was called IPv4, which stood for Internet Protocol version 4. It's 4 banks of numbers. Like Amazon, when you go Amazon.com, what you're really putting in is something like 54-168-0-1, although Amazon has bunches of banks. And this protocol is still mostly used for most internet traffic. But, you know, we ran out of IP addresses with that protocol because it only has 4.3 billion address possibilities. So more recently, the IPv6, version 6, was developed, which is 8 banks of 4 numbers or letters. So that's 32 different letters and combinations. And when you look at all the possibilities, well, that comes out to a trillion IP addresses. That would be enough. I mean, that's 10 to the 28. That would be enough for every person on Earth to have a trillion phones and still not run out of addresses. We would have enough for aliens. So that's the IP address, the destination point. Next came the TCP transmission control protocol. What needed, I mean, sending voice over a phone line is easy. A voice is converted into electrical current. At the other end, the electrical current is converted back into sound. But words on a page or images, that's entirely different. That's not easy to send over a line. You need something to do this. In steps HTML, hypertext markup language, and HTTP, hypertext transfer protocol. So words and images in a computer, they're actually really a bunch of ones and zeros, which is the only language computers speak, binary, okay? So that's what computers know. But those ones and O's are converted into HTML, or words and images that us humans can read and see. So when you turn on your computer and look at something, it's an HTML process that's going on, or something similar. But that HTML just doesn't go over a line. It needed to be grabbed by yet another protocol, which is HTTP, the hypertext transfer protocol, which would convert HTML into HTTP, carry it over the wire to the IP address, the destination, where at the other end, the HTTP was converted back to HTML, which is then converted back to ones and zeros for the computer. So when you go open up your Gmail, or if you're Penny from the sitcom The Big Bang Theory, you go to a website to buy shoes, the ones and zeros are then brought back up into an HTML language so you can read and add shoes to your shopping cart. Now, when Penny was stressed, according to The Big Bang Theory, she'd go out and buy a cute blouse or a nice skirt. And when she realized that she was still stressed, she'd go out and buy shoes. Okay, on October 29th, 1969, some beautiful mind nerds or geeks or whoever that were hired by the Army sent the very first internet data package from a computer at UCLA to a computer up at Stanford. It was the first time in history that 2 computers could speak to each other in a language. And I'm sure that message that was sent was not about shoes. Anyway, so unlike the internet, where everything is connected and an IP address destination can be found, the coronary arteries are standalone arteries. And as a result, the blood flow and oxygen, if blocked by a heart attack, cannot jump onto another coronary vessel, lifeline, to reach its intended destination. It's blocked, and that part of the heart has a heart attack. and there's ischemic death of the heart muscle and ischemic death of the electrical system in the heart. And that is how I got interested in trying to understand the internet. I had to keep it simple because I don't understand it. I hope you enjoyed this. My books, this is the first History of Man series. I got 6 books out in the History of Man series and more to come. They're print, they're e-Kindle, they're audio books. It's a style of writing called jumping off, which is what I just did. I have a base subject, which is usually medicine or science, and I jump off into history and astronomy and all kinds of stuff. It's not for everyone, but I promise you, with the turn of every page, you'll learn something and hopefully enjoy it. Thank you very much. Be well. Have a good day.